I stopped trying to get my life right and started running it like a software product. Because I know what it's like to feel capable, driven, and still feel like you're making no progress. So things slowly started to change when I stopped thinking I had to have everything about who I am figured out and simply accepted that I'm always a version in progress, like a software in beta. I'm a computer science graduate and now a data scientist. It's how we naturally do our job, through trial and error with plenty of iteration and feedback loops improving as we go. So I thought, okay, let me apply the same logic to my life at a much bigger scale. And when I started applying these principles beyond work, like towards building new routines, starting this YouTube channel, my fitness journey, or simply learning new skills, I saw tremendous progress. Once I started treating my life as something that continuously evolves, I stopped feeling behind and simply accepted it as a new way of life. And the more I looked into it, the clearer it became. Whether you work in tech or not, this type of thinking, this agility isn't optional anymore if you want to succeed in today's volatile, uncertain world, especially with things advancing at such a rapid pace. If you're trapped in overthinking, this perspective might be the permission you didn't know you needed. This video isn't about productivity tips. It's the principles and mindset that software engineers use to build massive, complex things through very small, consistent effort. This is usually in collaboration with many others, but in your own life, you're often the sole contributor orchestrating multiple systems at once. And that's okay. You don't need the full blueprint. You just need to focus on the next iteration. Hi, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Kriti. I'm a data scientist by profession. This channel is where we talk about the mindset shifts, systems, habits, and strategies to help build inner clarity and take meaningful action towards your goals. Okay, so that brings me to the first principle of minimum viable progress, sometimes also known as minimum viable product, MVP. Most people think progress has to feel impressive to count. That's a trap. In engineering, you don't aim for the best possible version upfront. You aim for the smallest version that works, like a prototype. Here's how this shows up in my work as a data scientist. When a new idea is proposed at work, it doesn't go out the door fully formed. It starts with a bare bones structure or a proof of concept type thing. For example, if a product owner or a stakeholder wants a dashboard to track something like daily site visits, I don't build the final polished version right away. I build the minimum working dashboard and then I get feedback. And then I might get asked questions like, can we break the numbers down by geography? What about source of traffic? Can we see the trends over time? That back and forth helps shape some of the output over time. The MVP just shows that the idea is viable before we invest more resources into it. So I started asking the same question in my own life. When I wanted to get into content creation, YouTube wasn't my starting point. I asked myself, what would the MVP look like here? And it was short form content. Low pressure, but just enough to prove viability. So if you're feeling stuck, your expectations for how the outcome must look like is probably too big. Ask yourself, what's the smallest version of progress that still counts? What could I test without burning myself out? You gain momentum from small wins you can repeat, not massive efforts that you can't sustain. The second principle is build, measure, learn. This is really the antidote to overthinking and perfectionism. In tech, you don't sit around debating whether something is the right idea. You build something, measure what happens, and learn from reality. And life works the same way. In my work, for example, once I build an analytics dashboard and it's live, the work isn't over. My stakeholders start using it to track metrics. They look at the data and see what's changing in the business. Things like, are there glitches in the product that's hurting customer experience? Are users not finding value in the features? And so on. We learn from the data signals and make changes in real time. I started treating my habits the same way. My fitness journey is a good example of this. When I first started, I couldn't even do a single push-up. That was like feedback that something needed more work. It told me that I needed to build baseline upper body strength first. So I focused on building strength using isolation exercises, and eventually one push-up became 5 and then 10. You don't judge yourself based on the first try. You learn to adjust the process and the system. All to say that most people get stuck because they try to decide too much in advance. If something will work, if it's aligned, if it's the right long-term move. But when you adopt this mindset of build, measure, learn, your life turns into a process of learning and small experimentation. And when you experience failure, you stop asking, what does this say about me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? What needs to change? That shift alone removes a huge amount of pressure. 3. Respond to change over following a plan. We're often taught that discipline means sticking to the plan no matter what. But in software, agility is survival and rigid plans are a liability. Reality changes. Information updates and constraints shift. The goal isn't to follow the plan perfectly, it's to stay oriented toward the outcome while adapting the path quickly. Like, I once started working on a project that would enable the company to track digital traffic on their website, like visits and views on desktop. This was the original plan, and we spent months nailing down the requirements we would need to do this. But then the business decided to also launch a mobile app. My work now had to evolve to include both website and app usage and tie them together to get a 360 view of the business. The original plan wasn't wrong, it just needed an extension now. And this often happens in life as well, right? Things change, plans get interrupted. So the question isn't, how do I make sure I stick to my original plan perfectly? But how do I adapt without quitting? Responding to change doesn't mean you're failing your original plan. It means you're staying honest to the plan, but changing how you accomplish it. This type of thinking often helps you change routines that no longer fit or make sense. You learn to detach your identity from the plan and attach it to your ability to stay flexible and adjust. 4. Constraint-driven clarity. In theory, unlimited freedom sounds appealing. But if you could do anything in this world, how would you know which paths to choose, when to stop, when to change direction? In practice, I think having unlimited options create a type of paralysis. In engineering, we always use constraints as decision filters. Constraints are anything like deadlines, boundaries around scope, and resource budgets. For example, product owners might test a new feature until they're able to collect 100 pieces of feedback. And once they have enough data, they decide whether to continue, pivot, or stop. They don't pour infinite resources into one idea. Same in life. I stopped waiting for clarity to magically appear and started creating it by taking small actions. But the actions are not endless. They are constrained. This keeps it productive and prevents drifting off course. There are times when I time box my decisions. Like, I tell myself, I'll try this plan for 3 months, and then I measure, did this thing improve my life or not? Do I like doing it? If yes, I continue. If not, I make a change. So if you feel scattered or stuck in a path, you probably don't need more options. You need more constraints, chosen intentionally and in alignment with your values. Constraints reduce noise and motivate focused action. 5. You are always shipping. I like to think about life the way product teams think about a launch cycle. There's a phase of rapid building and iteration, then a steady state where things stabilize. Then eventually you move on to a new project. You might have experienced this at work. Once a system or project reaches steady state, we don't force constant change. We maintain it, monitor it, and shift focus to the next problem that's worth solving. And then this whole cycle repeats. I mean, we would only have one version of the iPhone if tech companies didn't adopt this approach. Of course, there are examples of companies that didn't adapt soon enough and went out of business. So if you think about it, life works the same way. We develop interests, we build skills, we improve, and then we stabilize. And then we evolve again. The real risk here is not that you're trying new things or changing, but actually staying forever attached to one label or one version of you that did that one thing well some time ago. Every week, every phase, you get to reinforce or update a version of yourself. Once you realize you're always shipping, you stop fearing change. Progress isn't about reaching one finished version of yourself. It's about continuing the cycle. So at the end of the day, engineers don't panic when version 1 isn't perfect. They expect it. They build, they measure, they adjust, and over time, something strong emerges. You can treat your life the same way. Perfectionism tells you to wait until you're ready, but iteration tells you to start and refine. Focus on making small progress and prioritize feedback over ego. Adapt your methods when reality shifts and use constraints to stay on track. And stop trying to figure it all out. Just build something, learn from it, and adjust. Let yourself evolve. If you like this video, hit like, subscribe, and send it to someone who could use it right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.